Yo, what is good, everybody? Welcome on in. A to Z Sports Philly. We have obviously a special guest on the show. I mean, we're one day away from the NFL draft. And I'm like, do I want to go to the reporters? Do I want to go to the inside sources or the guy that kills it every single day? My guy, longtime friend of the channels, and that is Philly Mike of the Philly Talk podcast. We're going to talk about Eagles mock draft final predictions. Who do we think the Eagles are going to end up with tomorrow night in the first round? We will get into it all, and we would love to react to your thoughts as well. So drop them in the chat, and thank you for tapping in with us one day before the draft. Philly Mike, my guy, how are you feeling, man?
Hey, like you said, jitters. The Eagles drafts are always unknown because Howie Roseman puts out a lot of smoke screens. He's the one GM that you cannot say he's definitely doing this, definitely doing that. Very unpredictable. I mean, in 2022, we heard little murmurs of the Eagles trading for a wide receiver, but nothing in stone. Nothing like the reports coming out this offseason of he likes this, he likes that. But, with one of our picks, we make a big time trade for A.J. Brown. So anything is really possible with Howie Roseman. And it should be interesting. 22 is a long way, but I don't think we're picking around that time. I think we'll be picking a little bit earlier for a position that might make people happy. Just can't wait to get to it.
Absolutely, man. And once again, appreciate you hopping on with us. And I agree, like with the Eagles, it's never a sure, like, all right, pick 22. They're picking at pick 22. I think they said 10 of 13 first round picks have been via trade. So you always have to be on your toes. And I think that's the exciting part about an Eagles draft. And, leading up to the draft, right? There's all these smoke screens and, oh, they're going here, they're going there. Even today, right? I'm listening to the radio for about 5 minutes and I heard something. I thought I was listening to the wrong station. They said the Eagles are trading up for a tight end. They were talking about Brock Bowers. And I said, am I listening to the right station here? There are so many smoke screens going around. I think we could cross tight end off the list, right? And wide receiver, that's another one that keeps coming up. I just don't see that happening. What about you?
No, I think that with pick 50 or 53, if the board doesn't fall the way we want it to, I can see Howie Roseman dropping back with one of them picks because after 53, we don't pick again until 120. That's a long ways to wait. You drop one of them picks back, you might be able to get multiple picks in the third, early fourth round. All that being said, if the board falls and there's not an Edrin Cooper, there's not a solid defensive player, and there's a sure thing wide receiver that can make your team better, I could see maybe with one of them seconds. But if we went wide receiver first round, I would lose it. Now, like, I know a lot of people ain't going to be happy if the Eagles go offensive tackle, offensive lineman in the first round. I won't jump to joy, but I understand why they would do it, right? Like the bread and butter has been the trenches, offensive line, defensive line. And although it ain't a sexy pick right here, right now, look what Landon Dickerson has done for this team. Look at Jordan Mailata, again, a 7th round pick. And, a lot of people say just always go late with the O lineman because we got Stoutland University, which I totally agree. But look what the studs have done under Stoutland, like the Lane Johnsons, Jason Kelsey wasn't. But anyways, at the end of the day, Lane Johnson has been a vital piece of the Eagles' success. And so if you go get his replacement in the early round because you believe it, then I'm going to say, hey, it's Howie and Stoutland. I got to trust it. But, I think the majority of Eagle fans want a cornerback.
Yeah, and corner is the preeminent, like, all right, here's the Eagles need, here's what they need to do. But best, like it's always about best player available, right? And if they can't jump up, and we'll talk about draft positioning and all, like the trenches to me seems like the surefire pick. I don't know why it's such a surprise when we look at the track record of Howie and the Eagles. This guy loves building out in the trenches. There was a quote a couple weeks ago where he said, yeah, like Lane's our guy, he's our anchor, but it's never too early to start building up front. Yeah, and like we said, like these guys come in 2-3 years in advance, and when it's their time to step in, they're ready to go. So if one of the corners that the Eagles like is not there and they can't move up to get them, I think 100% they're going with an offensive lineman. Matter of fact, my soul deep down, just knowing Howie Roseman, is like he's drafting a lineman from Alabama or Clemson or Georgia. Like that's what I feel like is going to happen. Am I crazy to think that?
No, JC Latham, I think the tackle from Alabama is high on our list. We brought Troy Fatanu in, who's a left guy, left tackle, but I'm not sure what if he can move or not. He's a super athletic a tackle. Tyler Guyton, the guy from Oklahoma, he's my least favorite tackle. I think he's not really ready to come in and start. Well, again, if Howie and Stoutland see something just about his size, strength, and physicality and athleticism, maybe it doesn't matter if he's ready because he will sit behind Lane, right? Like if you were drafting Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma to come play, it's a boom or bust pick. But I think if he's sitting behind Lane, it could work. But Amarius Mims out of Georgia, another tackle. So there are tackles that the Eagles have brought in. We treat our top 30 visits very, very sincerely. Like we draft guys, we bring them in. Now again, you can never draft 30 people, right? We only got so many picks, and just because we bring them in early guys don't mean they're going to be there. But we've had interest in some defensive linemen, some offensive linemen. But Daniel Jeremiah said one of the top teams in the league that did their due diligence on corners were the Eagles. Again, is that a smokescreen? It's been 22 years since the Eagles drafted a first round corner, which was Lito Shepherd, and Howie Roseman never drafted it. The Eagles drafted, but it wasn't Howie Roseman time back then. So Howie's never drafted a first round corner. The Eagles haven't done it in 22 years. We love the trenches. The trenches will be there. What if Lietu Latu's still there, right? A guy the Eagles brought in. I know the Eagle fans don't like their injury history, but the dude's tape is good, and he's not coming off an injury. He had a productive season in 2023. It's just he has an extensive injury history, the neck, comeback kid. He was a fireman. People don't like that too. Or he wants to be a fireman. People don't like that. All that being said, there's so many avenues. I think a lot of Eagle fans want corner. I want corner. But depending on maybe the top two guys go early, maybe some other guys, like we think automatically Kool-Aid and Nate Wiggins and Cooper DeJean is going to be there. What if they're not? What if it's like, what if Quinyon Mitchell's in the top 10? What if Terrion Arnold's number 11? What if they start picking like guys like Cooper DeJean at 13 and like, whoa, what do we? It just starts. The draft goes quick. Like it's all fun and games when you could do a bunch of mocks, but when you live in that, things happen. Now 15 minutes takes long, but they're calling. Everybody's calling each other, so things can spiral quick. So that's why you got to have a plan A, B, C, D, and then one of the plans is definitely an offensive lineman. Let's just see if I don't know. That's scary.
No, it's always in his DNA, man, to go in the trenches. And even like weeks ago, I was thinking, all right, let's go with the defensive line because I mean, we could talk a little bit about the Reddick situation. I still don't really understand it that much. I mean, you're trying to win now, but it's a business, it's a financial situation. But you talked about Latu, Jared Verse, like these guys will, like one of them will probably be there. And I would not put it against Howie to just say, let's go in the trenches. I think when it comes to the corners, though, there's pretty much two guys that separate from the rest, right? And if those guys get picked and, Quinyon Mitchell, Terrion Arnold, I don't think the Eagles are going to stay there. I think they move back. What if some of these other guys are there and you can actually get them later in the first round or early second round? I think that's another possibility. But to get Quinyon Mitchell, right, that's the big report right now. The Eagles are talking about trading with Denver at number 12 to jump up. I don't see them trading up 10 picks, though. Is that realistic? Would Howie really do that?
For a position he's never drafted that high, right? Like not only will he do that, but for a position like we move water, we moved mountains to go get Carson. Remember, we came up to the number 2 pick from what, like 11 or 12, I forgot exactly. We did what we had to do there, but that's for a quarterback, not a cornerback. They're close, C and Q, but they're definitely not the same. I do think Howie has grown as a GM. He zigs when he zags, and he understands that, in 2022, say what you want about Jonathan Gannon and whoever else, we were number 1 in the NFL in pass defense. We went to the Super Bowl. Last year, we were bottom 5 in pass defense, and we flamed out. Whether it was coaching, whether it was Bradbury, just went from all pro to all buns. The simple fact is, corners, hey, if you're talking about it's a passing league, you got to get the 2 positions that stop quarterbacks, pass rush and cornerbacks, right? That being said, he could be on a new philosophy, but 10 picks is a lot. You're giving up pick 50. Like you're giving it up. Like you're to go from 22 to 12, you're giving up pick 50, and you might be giving up something else on the back end and or something in 2025. But here's my question to you. This is just a for fun thing. Who do you like better, Quinyon or Terrion?
It's crazy because I see everybody say Quinyon is the best. Quinyon's the best. I actually would not be mad with Terry and Arnold. And I think that he's more of like the stable pick long term. Like, I think that's a guy that can come in and play 10 years with the Philadelphia Eagles. And really, it comes down to where did he play ball at? All these Alabama guys, it feels like a Howie Roseman pick. Like, is Howie ready to jump the gun and go to Toledo to draft a corner? Like you said, a player that or a position that he's never invested in at Toledo. Like, didn't he learn his lesson? And I'm not saying Mitchell's not going to be some crazy, NFL prospect, but he goes with the surefire picks. And Terry Arnold comes from a stable system. He has great technique. Like, he just feels like a guy, even if you don't start him immediately, he's going to end up being the guy, right? And I agree, like, corner is the number one position to need. Like, Darius Slay's getting up there in age. Who knows about Bradbury? Like, if he's even going to be here. Someone in the chat said, Isaiah Rodgers is back now. Does that influence the draft strategy? Maybe, but is he really going to make that much of a difference? So if it comes down to those two, I'm not mad with either one. I think Mitchell will be the first off the board, but I am perfectly fine with Arnold. He's actually the number one on my board right now because I just think he's going to be a really good long-term investment type of pick.
Yeah, I'm with you. Now, Cincinnati is not as small of a school as Toledo. Cincinnati's in the Big 12, I believe. But remember, Sauce Gardner coming out of the Big 12, Cincinnati, Derek Stingley Jr. coming out of LSU. Man, I think Stingley's the better pick. Sauce Gardner's the better corner. Straight up.
Sure.
He's the best corner in the NFL. Now, Pax Surtain, Alabama. So you're right. Most of the time, the bigger school, the more talent, you're right. But we have seen some differences, right? Like, look at Nate Wiggins out of Clemens. His big knock is he's too little. But didn't they say that about Smitty? And I mean, didn't they call Smitty too little? So every case is different. I'm with you. I think a lot of people think Quinyon CB1. I think that they're both great players. I wouldn't be mad at either one. But if I'm playing the draft game, if I'm playing, Arnold at 15 or 16, Quinyon at 12, that's capital I can keep while getting the Alabama product. And a lot of people bring this up. Hey, Nick Saban won't be coaching Alabama no more. So you'll be getting Alabama players, but not Nick Saban defensively coach players. I think Kool-Aid would be higher on people's board if he didn't have a fractured foot. You know what I mean? Cooper DeJean, he's injured too. He had a broken fibula, although he tested at his pro day for the Eagles and a couple other teams, and they say he's good now. But injured players that early, it's kind of risky. I think them two corners are the ones you go up for. Anything else, you wait. If you're not going to get a corner, if you're not going to get one of them two corners, depending, hey, maybe 12 comes and we don't trade up and Quinyon's on the board. What if Quinyon and Terrion are on the board and it's the 14? Both of them. Now you're looking to trade up to 16, 17, and you still can get a surefire corner. You got to see how the board falls. All that being said, I'm not trying to trade up for an O-lineman. I think you can get a good one at 22. I'm not trying to trade up for a pass rusher. I think there's going to be guys there. And if they're going, I'm not mad at a Kool-Aid, a Cooper DeJean, a Nate Wiggins, a Latu, a Chop Robinson, whatever. Or again, we talked about trading that second round pick back, one of them, so we can have picks. So we're not in ghost land from 53 to 120. We have some stuff. If you end up trading your first round pick back even further because you feel good about who's going to be there in the late 20s, maybe you garner a third round pick. So now maybe you're picking 29, 50, 53, and 82, and then 120. That could come in clutch, So I think if you can't get them sure corners, I'm looking at a little mini trade back, how we play the game, play the Bach game.
Absolutely. And it's already been a productive off season, so it's not like there's that dying need. Like, there are needs, but we've already addressed a lot of the positions so far in the last couple months. But To your point, I think looking at 16 with Seattle, I know Schefter mentioned that as one potential place the Eagles could trade up. I think you're right. Like if one of the corners is there and the Eagles can make that move, go get your guy. I'm not putting it against Howie. Like in recent years, I feel like he's shown us that he's willing to adapt a bit, and he's willing to take risks now that he never took before that have helped his team. But it's still hard for me to see him taking a corner in round number 1. But maybe he does it. Maybe he does it. Shouts out to everybody in here, though, man. Thank you guys for being here. A ton of people in the chat. Give us your thoughts. Who's the number 1 prospect that you want to see the Eagles go out and get? Give me your thoughts in the chat. I'll leave it up to Philly Mike. What is your dream scenario tomorrow night? Like, here's how round 1 plays out. Eagles get X player. What is your top scenario for tomorrow night?
Is to move up in the later teens, 15, 16, 17, and draft Terrion Arnold. That will be my go-to scenario. I think you got to move up a little higher to get Quinyon. And again, wait, you said just tomorrow night. Like tomorrow night is the first round. I think there's big things that can happen with that second day in the draft, pick 50 and 53. And again, depending on how much you move up, do you lose 50? Do you lose 53? Can Howie finagle a trade up by giving some draft capital in 2025? Heck, give up the 2026 third-round pick you got for Hassan Reddick. That's in 2026. I might not even be alive by that. No, I'm just kidding. All that being said, that's far. Maybe you give some future stuff because I just feel good about this draft, and I feel good about a first-round pick, whether it's 22 or a little earlier. But that 50 and 53, don't get talked about as much as what we're going to do in the first round. But look over the decades, man. Deshaun Jackson, Zach Ertz, LaShawn McCoy, Jordan Hicks, Jordan Matthews, Landon Dickerson. We've drafted some studs in the second round. Jalen Hurts. Like, we've drafted some studs in the second round. So as much as I like 22 moving up a little bit, moving back, 50 and 53 could be Hall of Famers. You know what I mean? The way the Eagles do it, think about it. It's been crazy. So I'm trying to move up, but I'll be sad. I'll be happy and sad when they say Terrion Arnold and or Quinyon Mitchell, but they say we lost pick 50. I'll be sad.
No, it's true. So you think is Arnold better than Mitchell for you, or you just view it realistically as Mitchell's already going to be going off the board? Arnold is the more likely pick.
I think Arnold's the more likely pick, unless we're going all the way up to 12. I think raw talent, if I had them both on the field just running drills, I think Quinyon would outshine Terrion. But again, I'm gonna hold the school thing. I'm gonna hold the talent thing. I'm gonna hold the coaching thing. And moving that far up from a guy for Toledo, and I watch his tape and I'm like, dang. But it's I don't know, man. I think it's like there's that scare tactic that he starts playing good talent and he get worked a little bit. And confidence is everything for a corner. Like, you got to have short-term memory. Quarterbacks, give them credit. They throw a pick. They got to come right out there. But you just get mossed for a 40-yard catch. You getting booed.
Yeah.
You only got 40 seconds before the next play coming out. He might moss you again. You got to be a dog. You got to have a great mind. And I don't know. I like the way he talks. I just think the safer route. And again, I'm not saying like there's no upside to Terrion. His tapes speak volume too. Like, a lot of people like Ladd McConkey or whatever how you say his name from Georgia as a route runner, and I've seen him stick him like glue, glue. So I like him. I think the best case scenario to keep draft capital and hopefully he falls is Terrion Arnold. I would love it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I want to go back to something you said earlier, because what if this happened? And I'll shake up the whole draft plans here. What if the Eagles went out, and maybe not tomorrow, but in the next few weeks, what if they traded for Surtain? What if they went out, got a lineman, and I saw today the Broncos picked up the 5th-year option on Surtain. Doesn't really feel like he's in their long-term plans, right? Like, the Broncos are kind of going downhill right now. And
they $85 million in dead cap just for Russ.
Yeah, and there's no reason to keep him. He has experience with Fangio. Why not? Why not go get an all-pro corner? screw the draft, get Surtain, and we either trade the pick or
Oh,
we get a
I
lineman.
would give up pick 22 and 53.
Oh, absolutely. Would you rather go for the project or the guy that's already established in the league?
Yeah.
Could you see them making any like a big splash trade like that? I mean, we remember AJ Brown only a couple years ago. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, by the Broncos exercising his fifth year options to the best player on their team. Like, look, he was drafted in the same boat as Devontae Smith. We locked our guy up. He's not Devontae Smith is a great player, one of our best players, but Surtain is their best player. Like, if you're going to lock up your future and whatever, you start with Surtain, you get rid of a lot of old people, which they've done. Part of the reason why they let go of Justin Simmons is because age, who's still on the shelf, by the way, safety Justin Simmons. That being said, yeah, I don't think it's super likely now. But with Howie Roseman, if I guarantee you, since Howie Roseman got the alert from Adam Schefter, they're exercising the fifth year option. Hey, I might be able to sign him and then pay him next year. I don't even got to worry about paying him this year because I'll sign him on his fifth year option and pay him next year. Howie definitely called and say, "Yo, what's up?" They might say we need two for. He said, "I don't know about that. I'll see you tomorrow." I don't know, but he definitely calling. And with Howie Roseman, I wouldn't put it past anything. But if there was a trade on the table for Surtain, I'm listening.
No, absolutely. That's a guy that you invest assets to go get. And he's early in his career, bright potential going in the future. But I want to ask you about another guy as well, DeJean. I see a lot of the chat talking about him, and it feels like he's been the main topic of conversation. At the same time, it almost feels like he could drop like 5, 7, 10 picks. Like, where do you view his value as? Like, do you think he's going to go mid first round, late first round? If he gets to pick 22 and say the other corners are off the board, would you draft Cooper DeJean? Do you think he's the right fit for this defense?
At 22, corners are off the board. I still think there would be a corner, whether it's Wiggins or Kool-Aid. I think one of them will be on the board still. Here's the thing. How do you truly see Dijon? Is he a safety or a corner? Like, what do you truly see him as? If he's a safety, his value already is lessened. A top-notch safety and a top-notch corner, the corner's value is higher. So, with that being said, I think if teams start value him as a safety, he'll drop a little bit. The broken fibula, regardless, he had a pro day showing he was good. I think that's going to be in the back of organization or GM's minds. He only showed out for 4 teams. We were one of them.
Yeah.
So his limited access due to his injury, only 4 teams really made the effort to say, let me see what he got going. We were one of them. Howie's invested interest into this kid. That being said, I mean, if you're telling me he could play corner, safety, we could do a lot of different things. He could be a chess piece. I would be intrigued with a possible move back or something like that. But I got to see the board. And I like the kid. He can return punts. He's a baller, a little baller. But let's be honest. I ain't never see a white corner in my life. You know what I mean? I see some safeties. John Lynch. We got one Reed Blankenship. But, man, that corner position, these guys are running. These guys are running 4.3s.
Oh.
Xavier Worthy is going to be in the league running 4.28. You got to be quick and you got to be physical. You got to be strong. I don't know, but I think he can. I think he'll be a good safety in the NFL. But where did Brian Branch go? Late first.
Yeah,
he went like a pick. He went a pick or two before we drafted Nolan Smith. So that's where I would consider drafting Cooper DeJean, unless some GM's like, yo, he could play corner. I don't care what color he is. He could play corner. He could do it. I need to see it more with bigger guys in the NFL. I think he's more of a safety. A lot of people say, shut up, Mike. He's a baller. I know there's a couple Cooper DeJean stands in Eagle Nation, and I ain't mad at it.
And,
yo,
adding on to that, let's be honest. Howie has listened to the fans in years past, and I don't feel like he did that before. Like, Howie comes on these radio appearances.
He got a burner account. He got a burner account on Twitter.
Absolutely. He's probably watching right now. Yo, he tunes into these shows. All Eagles fans were preaching for Devontae Smith, Jalen Carter, guys like that. He listens to the fans now. So I'm starting to think with all this Cooper DeJean talk, you never know. You know what I mean? He could end up in Philly, but I do agree with you on the sentiment that you have Blankenship who's still trying to like kind of prove it, and then you have CJ Gardner Johnson. So is the need really there? Again, are you
Sidney
drafting
Brown too. He's injured, but I think
exactly?
you like. I like him. I think who's going to become a player.
Exactly. But can he play that outside corner? Or maybe he does fit the scheme of Vic Fangio. That's another whole thing. What will the Eagles try to do this season? Because we are just sick and tired of beating the drum about, playing off these receivers and giving all this cushion. And like, are we kind of like just going down that road even more now? Like, is that the right style of defense for this team?
Again, we're gonna rock that same style, but we're getting it from the man, the myth, the legend.
Right.
So we've had people try to replicate it and put their twist to it. He's the guy, and so we might see some games where we're playing off coverage a little bit, blah blah blah. But if it's not working, I think Fangio will be quick to adjust a little bit better. It is what it is. That being said, I think again, let's look at Bradbury. I know nobody wants to hear me talk Bradbury, but
Is he going to
let's
be
just
here? Is he done as an Eagle?
I think if the draft goes crazy with some corners, I think he's going to be a June 1st cut then. If not, I think the Eagles are always going to think about cutting him, but I think if he is on the roster, they're going to give him the first opportunity. Now, look, I'm not holding my breath, and I'm okay with getting rid of him and moving on. And I want a young corner. I want a stud corner for sure. But let's just look at this. Last time he had Fangio in the building, he was an All-Pro. Last time he had CJ Gardner Johnson behind him, he was an All-Pro. The last time the Eagles pass rush was good, he was an All-Pro. Like last year, the coordinator sucked. Bradbury was forced to go to the slot a couple times, which I don't think he did good in. We put him in some man-to-man on an island situations where he got cooked, and he didn't have the best safety play or best pass rush to help him out. That being said, I think we're going to play more zone. That will help him. CJ's here. Pass rush should be energized regardless, just due to Fangio's scheme and just more pieces. Devin White, Nakobe Dean coming back, whatever he can do. I like Bryce Huff. I think he's going to show why he had 10 sacks, only playing 47% of snaps with the Jets, who had a mean 5-man rotation. I think there's a lot of things in there. That being said, Keely Ringo's going to come for that cornerback 2 job. Isaiah Rodgers coming for that job, and hopefully a draftee. And if the draftee gets drafted and beats James Bradbury, more power to him. But I do have like a glimmer of hope that if Bradbury's on the roster, he's not as pathetic. Because let's be honest, last year was bad. Not just, it was bad.
It was rock bottom bad. And it's like, how do you go from the year before to what we saw last year? But I do think you have a point. And I think if the Eagles do or don't end up with a corner, whatever happens, we've seen the best of him. It's not like, oh, you're just banking and promising on a guy that's never done it before. Like just a couple years ago, he was here playing at an elite level. Obviously, we know what happened in the Super Bowl and things like that, but overall had a really good year. And it just feels like everything crumpled at the end of last season. And we never even got to like really talk about that. But I remember at one point we were like 8-1 talking on this show, and we were like, yeah, like the Eagles have a chance to go back for a run. I mean, everything collapsed. Like it's going to be crazy, man. Is Sirianni on the hot seat?
Yeah. Big
Crazy.
time.
Crazy.
I think
you think they brought in Kellen Moore to potentially succeed Nick Sirianni if he goes down and we start 2-4?
Could. I mean, I'm not saying Kellen Moore will be a better head coach in totality. I like some of his schemes and whatnot, but we look at it like this. Half of Philadelphia really wanted this man out. This last offseason. So, we don't get back to playing Eagles football. Not just look, 8-1 ain't even gonna save them. If you're winning every single game by by a drop pass or a bounce here, it's not gonna be pretty, especially when you play the bad teams, right? You can beat a good team close. When we won a close game against the Bills, that's cool. We won a close game against the Chiefs, that's cool. But why are we playing close games with Why are we losing to the Jets? Why are we playing close games with the Commanders? Why are we playing close games with and losing to Seattle? Like, the teams you need to beat, you need to go ahead and beat. And with this offense, because like hearing Saquon Barkley's name in the offseason is one thing, but when we see it in the season, I feel like it's gonna be like we know we got Saquon Barkley, but I don't think we really know we got him for the simple fact that he's gonna really, really ball out. I'm talking Miles Sanders is a good talent, DeAndre Swift, good talent, but look at their careers before here, after here, or when they were here. Best years here. And Saquon is going to be here with this O-line, these wide receivers. You can't focus on Saquon. When you play the Giants, all you did is circle Saquon. Who are the Giants receivers? Name one person on their offensive line. We can't do it because they're not in top 20 of any category. The Eagles got guys like that. And so Saquon is really going to have, I think, barring any injury, knock on fake wood, 40 points a game is 35 points a game is you got to do it, Kellen and Nick. Simple.
Yeah, I still can't believe we got Saquon freaking Barkley. I do have a little bit of concern in
Injury
terms of
wise,
the usage, because we've had these backs before. And I know Saquon's a different breed. You have to use them though. Like to me, there are games where just give the rock to Saquon. Like let him go. Don't get away from what works. So that's my little bit of, I guess, pessimism when it comes to Saquon. Nothing to do with him, the talent, but the Eagles, because they've never had a talent like this, in my opinion.
you got a Lambo now. You're going to use it. You got a Lambo.
They have to. Like no DeMarco Murray, like use Saquon, let him ride it out. And if there's a game where he needs 25 carries and he has 200 yards, let him do it. Why not? Like you don't have to throw to always win the game.
Totally agree.
Crazy, man. I do want to ask you about the Reddick thing, but before we do that, Philly Mike, I know, is a betting man. So I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, but Philly Mike's bet of the night, like tomorrow night, because we talked about what we want to happen, right? We talked about the number one guys that we want and what we could see happening. But I want you to give your betting man prediction. Like, what is going to happen tomorrow night? Do the Eagles trade up, trade back, stay put? Who do they land tomorrow night?
I'm just kidding. Betting, if I had to bet, Eagles gonna move up to 16 and get Terrion Arnold. That's where I like it. 16.
And what are they going to give up to do that?
They're gonna give up a third round next year and 171.
Okay.
Or 120.
So two
one
picks.
of them. I'm trying to keep them seconds for this year. Give up next year's second round pick.
Well, look, I hope they ride with your prediction because honestly, I would not be mad at all. Like, go get Terry and Arnold, get your corner of the future, and who knows, maybe Bradbury's out of here in a couple months. But guys, give us your thoughts in the chat. We will read out your predictions. Let me give a quick shout out to our sponsor, BetMGM. Enjoy your favorite sports with BetMGM. Sign up with our code ATOZPA. Get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. With BetMGM, you get instant access to parlays, live bets, player props, daily boosted odds specials, and with BetMGM at your fingertips, every play and every game matter more than ever. Find out why BetMGM is the king of sportsbooks. Sign up today. Use the code ATOZPA. Get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. I got to agree with you, Philly Mike. I think they're going to get Terry and Arnold. Like, I don't know. I just have a feeling. I have a feeling it's the Howie Roseman pick. And if not, it's going to be J.C. Latham, and they get an absolute tank. They literally called this guy the Human Bulldozer. Like, Howie Roseman's eyes lit up. Remember a couple years ago when he had that argument in the draft room? Like, I think if Latham or Arnold are there, he's going to be like, nope, get out of my way. I'm Howie Roseman. I'm out to prove everybody wrong. We're not taking this D line out of Colorado or this offensive tackle out of Iowa or Purdue, whatever. We are going with the Bama guys.
I mean, look, Jalen got some Bama in him, Smitty, Landon Dickerson, Tyler Steen. Like, listen, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, Alabama has been good to us for sure. And even Steen, who I think is going to be the right guard, and he's played some good football last year on the spot out of nowhere. And you're right, JC, the tackle from Alabama. I know it's going to make people mad, but You can't be called the human bulldozer. How he
300,
definitely. Oh, what? He definitely took
dude,
notes.
350 pounds. Guy is an absolute tank. And Screaming says McCoy was like him in Westbrook. I'm just talking about the fact of signing the guy from your rival, like the pressure that comes with that, in terms of the Saquon Barkley point. Jason in the chat says they don't stay put. Shout out to Prince. Mo says if we start out slow, Nick is done and they may blow the team up. Are we closing in on that possibility? I hope not, man. I hope not. Shout out to Carlos, man. Let's see. Screaming says the Eagle Bamas, and Neil says we're gonna go with Terry and Arnold. Let's listen, man. I'm not gonna be mad at it at all. It's gonna be crazy, as we know. Like the draft is just always a bunch of rumors flying left and right. A lot of smoke screens. Like these agents literally leak this stuff to try to throw teams off. It's wild, man. Um, Before we get out of here, Hassan Reddick. What do you make of that situation? Was it the wrong move? Is it like it is what it is? Water under the bridge now. What do you think the Eagles' stance is on that?
Well, when it all was happening, I was definitely like, no, why? Why did we do this? But I understand. Look, Nolan Smith is going to be a player. I was a Nolan Smith guy before we drafted him. I wanted to draft him. I'm staying by him. I'm gonna ride it out until he proves me wrong. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's gonna be a player. Bryce Huff is a dominant pass rusher. He has to get a little bit better versus the run. Can he do it multiple times? I think mind you, we signed, like we knew going into this offseason, Hassan wanted a new contract, and it was deserving off of 27 and a half for 27 sacks in 2 years. I think how we understood that 19-20 wouldn't cut it. He wanted more. 19 and 20 was steep for him because of his age. And look at Bradbury. Not saying they're the same player, but Bradbury went from great to not. And I'm not saying it would have happened, but if you extend him 3 years and he plays good this year, but his last 2 years are bad, and that's when he's taking the big cap hits and you can't get out of it, I understood that. All that being said, once you get a Bryce Huff for the same deal that you got Hassan Reddick for 3 years ago, 3 years, 50 mil. Hassan's was 3 years, 45. This is 350. Times have changed, inflation, whatnot. But in Howie's mind, it's like this. We're going to lose a predominant pass rusher. We gave a younger predominant pass rusher whose scale is pointing up. Not saying he will ever be the new Hassan Reddick, but has the opportunity to. So I think how we looked at that as we lost one, got one. The money's way different than what it would have been. Plus, we got the draft. Plus, there's going to be free agency and whatnot. Jalen Carter is the person that can move inside, outside, right? We still got Jordan Davis, Milton Williams. We got tackles that we like. So you could be seeing Jalen Carter move outside a little bit at times. Like BG's back still. You still got Josh Sweat. I looked at it like how we took long because not many people wanted to trade for that money. He wanted to try to get something done. It just one of them things where the business side of it just took over, and there was nothing we could do. Shout out to Howie for getting 27 sacks for damn near the 14th highest paid pass rusher. But it was a time, and you see these guys getting paid. Look at what Josh Allen did for the Jags just got. Now he just came off a 17 sack season, but Hassan had a 16 one in 2022, right? So like he got 30 something million. Hassan's young, older. That's why he wasn't asking for quite 30, but it's coming for these pass rushers who are good. But Huff was the best bang for your buck. And we still got the draft. We talking about corners and O-line. We see Latu, and now it's like, oh, now we understand, right?
Yeah.
Not many people. I think in the back of our heads, we know there's a possibility to get a Jared Verse to Latu. But I think what happens is because there's so many podcasts, there's so many media sources, and so much on Twitter, like we get stuck in certain lanes. You got it's automatically going to be an O-lineman, but some people are happy about it and not happy, but they still think it's going to happen. And you got the cornerback thing. No one's letting a pass rusher slip through, but we're sitting here like, dang, a month ago, we can't get rid of Hassan Reddick, but now you get Nolan Smith in year 2, which mind you, Hassan Reddick's first couple years, he wasn't that good. Like we're like, Nolan Smith, where were you last year? Well, one, he was behind 3 good pass rushers, including BG. And Hassan Reddick's first 3 years in Arizona, he wasn't getting nothing done. So, BG was a suspect his early part of his year. So I'm definitely not done with Nolan Smith. And you get Latu. Now you're talking about you lost Hassan, you added Huff and got Latu. It's a big difference there. So we got to wait till this draft comes. But when it initially happened, I said, well, the Eagles are not better today when they were yesterday, initially. But it is what it is.
No, absolutely, man. They have a lot of ammunition to fire off, and hopefully they'll be able to land a couple guys. I'm gonna put you on the spot one more time. Will the Eagles draft a linebacker in the first 2 rounds? Actually, 3 rounds. We'll go three. I'll make it a little
Well,
bit.
3 rounds will be our 4th-round pick.
Yeah,
because remember we got two picks in the 2nd round.
right. How about this? Their first 3 picks.
Yes, we are.
We'll draft a linebacker. Okay, we're riding with Philly Mike, man.
We're drafting one.
Philly Mike. We have to. We have to.
I don't think Edgerrin Cooper is good. Like all these mock drafts have Edgerrin Cooper there at 50 and 53 on every Pro Football Focus one. Right. I would love for that to happen. I don't know. I think you have to move up to get Edgerrin Cooper in the 2nd round at least. But a Junior Colston, Peyton Wilson, Peyton Wilson, even our guy Jeremiah Trotter. Whether we come up, we don't draft. Maybe we move one of our picks back, the 2nd round picks back, and then Jeremiah Trotter. But you got to come away with a linebacker in the first 3 picks.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then that's a huge, huge need. And obviously we saw it kind of dwindle at the end of last year, and the Eagles really needed help. And it's like, it's just never been a position of priority, but Trot would be cool. Trot would be cool in Midnight Green.
Yeah, rocking 54. Like I said, I like the Devin White move for sure, but he's on a 1-year deal. And here's the thing, it kind of sucks because if he comes here on a 1-year deal and he sucks, well then he's gone because he sucks. Right. If he comes in on a 1-year deal and he balls out, now he wants $18 million per year. You know what I mean? So I think you lose him regardless. But it would be nice to have Nakobe Dean learn under Devin White. Plus, please just stay healthy. Like I can't even assess. We can't even assess. Like for anybody who says Nakobe Dean sucks, I'm like, how do you know? Like, how do you know? I don't know because he's always injured. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I gotta see him stay healthy, but you need another young guy in there. And so, early 2nd, you might get a big name. Late 2nd, trade back. Trotter will be there late 2nd, early 3rd. I think that's where Trotter goes. And again, draft can change, but that's my mindset. If you go out, like I think corner linebacker in the first 2. Like, you know what? I'm not even mad at like I think people are going to be upset if they go offensive lineman on the first. But like if you get Max Melton out of Rutgers at 50, who did have a top 30 visit with the Eagles or came on a local pro day, I'm cool with that. So again, I know everybody wants the best corner, but if you go if you go the Bulldozer, then you go Max Melton, or no, you go to Bulldozer, one of them linebackers.
Right.
I would love Edgerrin Cooper, but say Peyton Wilson, Junior Colson, and then you go Max Melton, I ain't mad. Then you got your O-line, you got a corner and a linebacker early enough. And listen, our 2nd round picks have been good. So I like Max Melton, but I still think there's going to be so many broken hearts if we don't go corner in the 1st round.
Oh yeah, people are going to be all over Howie, but again, like it has panned out over the last several years, so it's like you got to trust them a little bit, So
we might listen if we go wide receiver, we might get a 2021 RB yelling at the TV reaction, Jalen Hurts kind of style one,
If we go quarterback,
100K.
If we go quarterback, things are going to happen on that video, man. Damn, it's been a while, man.
Even wide receiver. Imagine going wide receiver. You'll be shocked. Now, look, I mean, if they say like something, if they say like I don't care how good the wide receiver they say. They could say Brian Thompson Jr. from LSU, who my back of my head will be like, yo, he's talented. But my first thing will be like, what?
No reason to go wide receiver or tight end that early in the draft. Maybe later, but I'm not moving up to get a tight end or a receiver. I think that would be a huge, huge mistake.
Yeah, that's throw your hat on the ground, video-wise take. You know what I mean?
Hey, they got 2 2nd round picks. Maybe they'll go with a backup quarterback. You know what I mean? Never know. Never know. I hope not, though.
Spencer Rattler, or what is it? Spencer?
Yeah. One final question. Now that we're talking about quarterbacks, over under first round quarterbacks drafted 5.5. Over under
That's I'm gonna say under. I think 5 will.
5. I'm smashing the over, man.
For real?
They're talking about what, like 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the first 10, and then later in the first round, there's a couple teams that could use a quarterback, and maybe a team could trade up. You never know. I do think there's a couple of these guys that will fall, but I think it's going to be 6. I don't know.
See, I think it's close. Like if you would have said, like I think it's going to be exactly 5. So that's why I can't go with the half.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of early ones. But like, where does Penix get drafted? Where does McCarthy get drafted? I think they're the ones who, yeah, maybe somebody comes up in the first round and gets them. Yeah, it's going to be it's crazy.
Maybe the Giants. Maybe the
Look,
Giants.
I feel bad sometimes for the top guys drafting. Well, I mean, Caleb Williams, but look, like you know how mad Carolina got to be. Like now, I'm not saying Bryce Young won't ever be something, but you draft Bryce Young, CJ Stroud goes off the board right after him, and then you watch the season prevail where Bryce Young, Miles Sanders is pushing Bryce Young over because the dude's in the shotgun about to take a snap from the right guard.
Yeah.
From the
Yeah. No, it's crazy because Sanders is a whole different thing, but I think both sides, like you're kind of right. Like you're a quarterback, you go number 1 overall to a team that's terrible for the most part, right? Like CJ Stroud was incredible, but like you go to a bad team, number 1 overall, you're in for it. Like you got to wait a couple years to even play, competitive football. And then on the other side for the teams, like a lot of pressure on that decision, like you move up to get a guy like the Eagles moving up or whatever. It's tough, if that guy doesn't pan out, that's the pick everybody remembers. You know?
Or like the Bears draft, the Bears drafting Trubisky in the same draft that Mahomes is there.
That's tough, man. The Bears have had really bad luck with these.
Or see, here's the one thing, but at least look, the Bears draft Trubisky while Mahomes is there, but at least they drafted with their own pick. The Niners traded buku picks to go up and get Trey Lance, who did nothing. You know what I mean? Like so, that Zach. Well, we've seen some early quarterbacks just. But I do like, and see that's where I stand. I think Caleb Williams is the first guy off. I think Jaden Daniels should be the second guy off. But I think Drake May is that eye candy where people are like, he don't have that much experience, but should we go off it? I don't know. So I would take Jaden Daniels over Drake May.
Yeah, no, for sure. And he's going to Washington where, unfortunately it's tough to survive in Washington. But yeah, I agree. I think those 3 go top 3. I think McCarthy, I think he's going to be a top 10, top 11. And then who else? Penix, you mentioned. Maybe. And then they've been talking about Bo Nix. Bo Nix, a first round pick. So I don't know, man.
That would be your 6, right? That would be your 6.
That would be 6. But you really think
Bo Nix is going to be the first pick of the second round? You'll be mad. I mean, if you put some money on that bet and he's the first pick of the second round, I would have cashed in off that half. You know what I mean? Should be close.
No, for sure, man. There's a lot of guys that could go though, and there's like a lot of wild card teams too. Like Minnesota, I think's a wild card team. Who knows, man? It's going to be crazy. The draft is always nuts, but I'm excited to see what the Birds do, man. But as always, I want to thank you for coming on. Incredible talking to you. Shout out to the chat being active all night long. Hopefully the Birds leave us with a smile tomorrow night. It's going to be a chaotic scene in Philly sports. You got game.
It's in Detroit though. That's why a lot of this is the smallest amount of players I've ever seen like report that they're going.
Yeah, nobody wants to go to Detroit.
It's literally like 12 people going to.
Nobody wants to go. Got a lot going on in Detroit. A lot going on. You got the NFL draft. You got the Sixers game for all any Sixer fans out there at the same time. It's going to be crazy. I think.
So wait, the Sixers play what time tomorrow?
7:30, and the draft is at 8. So same time. It's like blood pressure's going out the roof, you know?
Oh, while I'm live doing my draft, since I'm gonna have Philly take RB on my other screen, at least so I can keep up. I'm gonna have you real low so only I can hear you. You know what I
Gotcha.
mean?
I might do the same so I can make sure if the Eagles trade up, I try to get my reaction, you know? If they skyrocket up to 15, you got to be ready, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And if you guys are on this channel right now, be sure to subscribe to Philly Talk Podcast. Literally one of the best out there doing it. Gives you all the Eagles news coverage. And if you're coming on over from his channel, thank you for tapping in. But Philly Mike, my guy, appreciate you coming on. Anything else you got? Any hot takes for tomorrow night? Any
No,
final
I mean,
thoughts? Or you're ready to lock in?
I think we said it all already. I think the hot take is as much as we all want it, if it happens, it's still gonna be hot takeish to me because Howie's never done it. He's never drafted a first round corner. So, like, everybody who's so confident, like, I understand the reports are coming out that we've done our due diligence, but I mean, we never done it. So I think that's going to be as much people say, oh, we knew it. Like, did you really? You wanted it. But I think people want it, but in their hearts of hearts, they should be nervous because we never done it.
And to that point, I think it's a really good one that people overlook. Like how, in a way, I almost feel like Howie's a bit scared to step that line, you know? Like, do I go with the smaller school guy? Like, we remember what happened a couple years ago. Or do I just go with a guy I know is going to be a 7-8 year player, you know? Like what most guys that come out of schools like Bama, like they're just productive players. Like you said earlier, if it's not broke, don't try to fix it.
Yeah. And again, there is if there wasn't no good offensive, like if the offensive, if it was their offensive line crowd is big. Mims, Fontua, JC Latham, even Tyler Guyton for who's the people who like them. Like, if Howie really goes corner, then he heard us and he's a changed man. And I like this new Howie. He goes corner. I'm like, yo.
Every time the Eagles plummet, I feel like we get the best version of Howie Roseman.
Oh, yeah. He's
like,
definitely.
I want to prove to the whole world that it wasn't a fluke. I'm Howie Roseman, and I'm going to do everything it takes to get this team back. He's signing guys they had beef with. He's signing He pulled Saquon from the Giants. Like, Howie's on a different mission right now, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, you're right. Like, just them top three. Like, a big name linebacker, although he got him for the decent cheap, I think it was $5-7 million, but still, I think it was $7 million for a 1-year deal. All our linebackers last year added up to like $5 million. So he got one linebacker for the price that he paid for all his linebackers and more last year. That's a little different. He paid a running back. He paid him. That's different. And then he admitted his mistake. My bad, CJ Gardner-Johnson. Take this 11 mil. You wanted 10 mil last year. Here's an extra one. It's my fault. I made a mistake. Howie Roseman on one. And so he's been on Twitter. He sees all the cornerback talk.
He's watching. Hey, it's going to be a crazy night tomorrow. Thank you guys for tapping in with us on the night before the NFL draft. Be sure to like the show and share it around. That being said, one more day. Find out what happens. Guys, have a great one. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.